What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am ZBest. Today I've got a guide video for you guys. Typically I would do a review video, though in this case I will be doing a guide video on the VK2801-105. So quickly looking at the tanks.gg site, for the stats of the tank we have a derp gun, so the HE is your primary ammo choice. 53 pen is actually quite good at tier 6. You also have your 104 pen heat shells and your 64 pen AP shells. Now, one of the things that should be taken into account is shell velocity. So the HE has 470 meters per second, which is slow, but it's a derp gun level. What's crazy is that the heat shell only travels at 376, so sniping is not really an option with the heat shell. Typically, it might travel faster, even just marginally, than the HE, but in this case, it travels significantly slower, actually. The 104 pen, as we'll see, is decent for most things, though it could, of course, be better, but then it would make it a little bit strong. And then we also have the AP shells, 64 pen, but the same shell velocity as the HE. So there is a argument for using this to snipe if it's at a lightly armed vehicle. Now, the DPM is not going to be exact. You have to keep in mind that, of course, the HE will not do consistent damage, and the AP and heat, they only do 350, and they're not always going to pen. This thing is quite fast, 64, with a decent power to weight, about 25.5, 26. So you'll be able to drive around. It is one of the bigger light tanks at the tier, so don't try to active scout too often as you are a big target. Accuracy is derp gun levels. Your view range with bounty equipment is actually quite good at tier 6, so you can do some spotting assist. I was using food, full bounty equipment, and BIA. I don't think I was using a directive for this game. And then, of course, armor is non-existent. Even on a slope, you'll only get up to about 67, 68. It's only turning red because I have the AP shell selected for this tank. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the battle. So, like I said, this is a guide video versus just a review. Most of us that have been around in this game a long time have actually played this tank with this gun before. Now, not everyone has, so this is why I'm putting this out here. One of the key things to do if you have a derp gun is not to basically YOLO in and count on your DPM. You need to have enough kind of awareness to prevent getting caught out because your DPM isn't great. I did forget to mention that this thing actually has quite good gun depression over the front and the sides. It's about 10 degrees, so you can definitely work ridge lines. As we can see, I did hit a penning shot on the side of the Firefly, and with the new HE mechanics, I hit the tracks of the Firefly and did 0 damage. So one of the things that you want to keep doing is looking for side shots, especially with the HE shells, but all three really, side shots are what you're really looking for, and occasionally rear shots, though that is a lot harder. Side shots will get you pens more often than not. Good example right there on a light tank. Hit, pen, the ammo rack was kind of unnecessary. You want to continue relocating, trying to find places that you can actually do damage, because as we'll see later, just splashing someone frontally won't do a lot of damage anymore. It used to do around 100 damage, which is actually quite nice, even as high as 150 for non-penning shots. That doesn't happen very often anymore. So this is where shell velocity hurts you a little bit. You can see the arcing. And there's a little bit of spotting damage, though that's a little less common for 600 damage at this tier. But anyways, as you can tell, this thing is quite mobile, and it also has a derp gun, so sniping is not the most ideal way to use it. And you also have the capability of penning sides of lights and mediums, and at this tier, you can actually do quite a bit with HE, but the heat is actually quite good as well, because you can actually, for a decent amount of tanks, pen the front of them as well with 104 heat pen. And then the AP is useful when you don't want the tracks to absorb it, or the shell velocity is just too slow. At this point, it used to be that you would fire HE all the time at long range, but because the pen is not as high as the AP, and because the shell velocity is the same, and because you don't do a lot of damage if you don't pen, might as well just fire AP. So sniping, I do actually fire AP here and there, though like I said, you don't snipe in this thing, you just kind of drive around and dirt people. Now this is a long game. I think I'm going to skip forward a little bit. So I didn't actually shoot at the Firefly, I just jumped down here. So I do load a heat shell right here, even though I know it has very slow shell velocity. It doesn't necessarily matter if they're stationary. So, arcing shot, 340 damage. Just the fun of a derp gun. Now, I actually aimed that well, but 104 heat versus a VK 3002 M's mantlet, just not going to work out. So as this game progresses, I found myself being very nostalgic back to when tier 6 lights were all this sort of fun. If my shot actually had went where I aimed, that OI would have been dead. That's where like the heat shells are kind of nice. But yeah, so nostalgia for this game. This thing had the derp, the 5916 had that crazy all loader that was so much fun. Had very low pen, but you could just absolutely decimate lightly armored tanks with it. And you could get lucky enough to, with premium, pen even tier 8s if you got behind them, and then you drop like, was it 600 damage in very, very quick succession. And then you had the T-37, which was more of the sniper, the Type 64, which was a DPM monster. You had the, am I missing one? Anyways, there was just a lot of diversity to do with and there's another HE non-penning or missed shot, which with the old HE you probably would have splashed for 100 damage. Now you just do 0 damage. The reload is kind of nice though, you can get a couple shots in. I do switch back to heat here. This is what I'm talking about. HE is not the greatest for a lot of things. Just a casual 300 into the side of a same tier heavy tank is why this thing is so much fun. I'm going to skip forward a little bit again. There's another heat shell into the back of a tank. The rest of this game isn't quite as important. I don't think I do very much more. So with that, we will jump over to the post-game stats. So this was an ace, only 2400 damage. I had done one more penning shot, I believe, on an M44, and that was the only other damage I got. This tank is a lot of fun. It will not set any damage records. It is not the best tier 6, but it is a lot of fun, and it does create a little bit of nostalgia back with the tier 6 light tanks with all the variety, and the tier 6 strongholds where you'd run around with the different types of lights, and you'd have this thing where you'd roll up to a Cromwell and do basically two-shot him. So hopefully, if you can take my couple tips out of this video, you can enjoy this tank, as everyone gets it if you've been playing the game for 4 years, and if you haven't been playing that long, just wait a couple more years and you'll find it in your garage as well, as all the well-deserved reward vehicles have stuck around from the first one to, I think this is the 4th one now. So if you don't get it this year, maybe next year or the year after, all of these well-deserved reward vehicles, I think it's a great idea. I wish they hadn't removed them in the first place, but at least we get them back, and we also get to enjoy them with our good tier 10 crews because they're reward vehicles and not standard vehicles. So that is one benefit. Anyways, hope everyone has a happy holidays depending on when you're watching this, and thank you for watching.